trained, well organized in the country as far as planning and preparedness. And what the state and federal government have done in pre-positioning, they've leaned forward. We've got a lot more preparedness on this storm than we had on the last one, is all I can say. And everybody has tried to do the best they can to get people out of the way. But the storm has a vote. It's going to break things and kill people in the next 24 hours.
Do you have faith in FEMA right now? There was a lot of misinformation going around. There were some complications, I understand, with FEMA with regard to those that made it through Helene but need some, or Helene rather, and need some support, and now getting ready for Milton. Where do things stand with FEMA at this hour?
I think FEMA are doing the best they can. They were dealing with a previous storm before Helene. But there was some issues in people being rejected up in the North Carolina, in the western part of North Carolina, because their homes were not destroyed, but in the FEMA algorithm, they still could live in their home, but they didn't have electricity and they didn't have water. And something was rejecting their request, even though they had a FEMA identification number. And we worked through the afternoon to try to get that through members of Congress and to the White House and to the director of FEMA directly. And hopefully we'll have that worked out by tonight. But people need to call their Congress people if they're being rejected based on the fact that the home is not damaged, the computer is not accepting their application, and that algorithm needs to be fixed. And hopefully that's done by now. But we'll be following up tonight, Kara.
Okay, good. And then one more final question, Russ, if you don't mind. Just folks that have decided to weather out this storm, you know, what's your feeling about that at this point? There are some folks that are staying for the storm that are in a zone that should have been evacuated. Others are in zones where mandatory evacuation orders, you know, didn't get put into place. But these folks that are in these areas that, you know, we're told to definitely get out, and they aren't doing it. How big of a risk are they taking?
Well, to be useful as opposed to being sarcastic, what I would tell them to do is to make sure they have an axe so they could cut out the roof of the house in case they have to export or use some other mechanical means. Take inventory of who in the neighborhood is still there, what neighbors, so they know how to help one another. Use text, don't voice, save your phone. Fill everything you can with water inside your house so you have it available in case you need it. Take inventory of where if you have a life vest, pull them close to you, take them out the boat, bring them in the house, and text people that you're okay and that somebody know that you are at that location. Check in with your local authorities, make sure they know you're there, and let somebody know where you are. That would be the survival skills. And if you got an electric car, don't try to start it after the storm. Make sure it's turned off and don't try to start it. Those would be some quick recommendations. They got to go into survival mode, Kara.
Understood. General Russell Honore, always good to see you. Thank you, sir. And if
God bless them and God bless the volunteers.
Always. If you're impacted by the hurricane, and you are in the need of help, resources, be sure to just call the FEMA hotline, 1-800-621-3362. You can also download the app. So whether it's Helene or Milton, there are people working that phone number 24/7. All right, coming up, President Biden and Israeli Prime Minister speak for the very first time in 2 months. We'll tell you what went down next.
Sex, lies, and a double murder.
2 small children were kidnapped.
Your mom and daddy are going to be right here waiting on you when you get home.
When the twist came, then it completely exploded.
It's one of the craziest stories I've ever heard, and people don't know about it.
What kind of mother would kill her own children?
After nearly 30 years in prison, Smith now has a chance at parole. Could the woman once dubbed the most hated mom in America go free?
Killer Mom, now streaming on Hulu.
It's better to look at the evil than to ignore it, Father.
And what if you enjoy the looking?
All new Wednesdays at 10 on FX. Stream on Hulu.
Hollywood wants to make a movie of our podcast.
Actually, I'm nervous playing you. Stop.
This is box office gold.
Okay, we've got Jets fans, we've got Bills fans, and we're about to get down to it for GMA's ultimate Monday Night Football tailgate. So, Bills, Jets, which fans are about to represent biggest and best? Don't miss GMA Monday.
Things have changed.
What does that mean?
It means everyone is vulnerable. I know for a fact there's something else at work here.
When you put blood on the ground, there's no going back from it.
FX is the old man. All new Thursdays at 10 on FX. Stream on Hulu.
The case against Sean Combs might as well just be called the freak-offs.
Freak-offs, what prosecutors described as orgies.
Sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, interstate transportation for prostitution.
The AK-47s, the 1,000 bottles of baby oil.
Diddy in court, pleading not guilty and denied bail.
This very powerful man in the music industry decided to use his power to hurt others. Time's up.
Diddy, drugs, lies, and freak-offs. Now streaming on Hulu.
3, 2, 1.
It's a 24/7 life together.
It's not about the fear or the risk. It's about the love of flying. 3, 2, 1.
Glad you're streaming with us. You know, as the Middle East remains on the brink of an all-out regional war, it's about time that President Biden, Vice President Harris, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu actually spoke on the phone this morning for the first time in 2 months. Israel is expanding its ground incursion into Lebanon and considers right now how to respond to Iran's recent ballistic missile attack. At the same time, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant actually canceled his trip to Washington to meet with Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin today. Let's get straight to our Patrick Reevell, who's in Beirut. So, Patrick, what do we know about this phone call?
Hi, Kira. Yeah, the White House and the Israeli Prime Minister's office have confirmed that there was a phone call this morning between President Biden and Kamala Harris with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. There's not many details yet. We know from Israeli media that it lasted about 50 minutes. And I think it's a very significant call taking place within the context of this wait for Israel's promised retaliation against Iran for its missile barrage. It's now over a week ago that took place. We know that the US and other countries have warned Israel not to strike Iran's nuclear facilities, and we know that President Biden has also publicly warned Israel not to target Iran's oil facilities, although most experts believe that probably is potentially still on the table. We don't know yet what Israel is going to strike, but they have promised that it will come. Israel's defense minister tonight has actually promised that whatever the strike will be, it will be precise, deadly, and above all, very surprising, and that Iran will not understand how it happened. So clearly Israel's still here toying with Iran and promising that this retaliation will come, Kira.
Well, is there anything you think to be taken from the fact that Israel's defense minister canceled this trip here to D.C. to meet with SecDef Austin?
Yeah, I think it was surprising that this meeting was cancelled. We know that Defense Minister Yoav Gallant was supposed to be in D.C. meeting with his counterpart, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, in D.C., but it was abruptly cancelled at the last minute. We don't really know why that happened, but we know that there were reports coming out of Israel that Netanyahu himself may have actually refused to allow Gallant to go to D.C. to take part in that meeting because he wanted a call to happen with President Biden. The Pentagon has not commented on why this meeting was cancelled abruptly, but perhaps also suggests that there could be tensions, as we know, between the U.S. and Netanyahu exactly over how this strike against Iran should take place. We know that they're concerned about potentially Iranian strikes against American troops in the Middle East. But we know ultimately that the US has said that they very much back Israel to retaliate against Iran. I think also that President Biden and Kamala Harris will have been talking about Netanyahu's strategy here in Lebanon, because clearly the IDF is continuing to escalate its invasion here into Lebanon. They've sent thousands more troops into southern Lebanon in just the past 2 days. And I think it's notable as well that the US has reversed its policy. Initially, they called for an immediate ceasefire here in Lebanon. Now they've said that they support Israel's continued efforts to degrade Hezbollah's military infrastructure. And of course, that will ultimately encourage and potentially embolden the Israelis as they continue their operation here. We know that they are striking, as I speak, targets across Lebanon, Kira.
Patrick Reevell in Beirut. Patrick, thank you. And coming up, if you doubt the power of this pending storm, stick around. Our Ginger Z simulates the scale of a storm surge.
Nightline, the stories that shape your world, that shape your life. Dramatic, stunning, empowering, jaw-dropping. The most powerful stories of our time. Nightline, on right after Kimmel and streaming on Hulu.
Yo, partner.
We're not partners. I'm the detective and you are the consultant. I see you brought your baby to a crime scene.
She is just spectating.
You're a single mom with 3 kids pretending to be a cop.
I am not pretending. I spot things that detectives miss. Still think my theory's flimsy?
That big brain of hers is going to help us close a lot of cases.
I'm just out here super copping.
High Potential, all new Tuesday on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories. Start here.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Make it your daily first listen, wherever you get your podcasts.
This ship is heaven. There should be no guilt on a pleasure cruise. Doctor, it's your job to keep everybody alive.
No pulse. She's in VFib. 1, 2, 3. Clear.
I have a pulse.
You're going to be okay.
True natural beauty, untouched. One of the last of its kind. But this comes at a cost. 5 countries, 5 incredible real stories of adventure, danger,
We have to go.
and deceit. These are the last lands, the national parks around the world that have to be saved.
Glad you're streaming with us. Hurricane Milton closing in on the Sunshine State, plowing through the Gulf of Mexico as a Category 3 with winds up to 125 miles per hour right now. Milton now just hours away from making landfall between Tampa and Sarasota. Our Melissa Griffin has been tracking it all for us. All right, let's talk about strength and path at this hour, Melissa.
And Kara, like you said, Category 3 now with those sustained winds at 125 miles per hour, but those wind gusts much higher. In the core near the eye of the hurricane, you can find gusts up to 175 miles per hour. So this is a large and major hurricane. It's going to stay that way as it moves ashore later tonight. It's picking up speed, moving northeast at 17 miles per hour, currently 100 miles southwest of Tampa, Florida. Let's take a look at some of the updated wind gusts. This is happening right now. You can see a gust right there, 53 miles per hour there in Sarasota. 31 in Tampa, 55 down in Fort Myers, even down in Key West. So far from the hurricane, still getting some of those gusts near 60 miles per hour. You're going to see these numbers climb as we head into the night. And that latest track takes it right ashore, right near Sarasota. So just south of Tampa, near Sarasota, will likely be landfall. This is later tonight, probably between the time frame between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. You're going to see those conditions deteriorating well before that time, though. You're going to see the storm surge piling up. You're going to see the winds increasing through the night for places like Tampa, Sarasota, and Fort Myers. And then you just see it slice across the state, across Central Florida. Orlando will feel those Category 1 hurricane conditions. And then you see the Space Coast there, Cape Canaveral, Melbourne. You're still going to be getting it. That's tomorrow morning, waking up to very strong winds, gusts possibly up to 75 miles per hour or higher, and the potential for flash flooding, Kira.
So what are the biggest concerns right now leading up to landfall, in addition to what you just mentioned?
Well, if you take a look at the radar, you can see these bands, and this is what we've been watching all day. So even when Milton was much further away from the state, we've been seeing these outer bands sliding into the state, bringing so many tornado warnings. So you have places that are not only going to see flooding, but they're going to see tornadoes as well. Look at Vero Beach. They are just smothered in tornado warnings right now, and that stretches all the way down to just west of Fort Lauderdale. You see some tornado warnings popping up here in Orlando. Orlando not really getting the core of the storm until overnight into early tomorrow, but they are on watch for tornadoes right through tonight. So a very dangerous situation could evolve across much of Central Florida through the overnight hours, even before the storm moves across the state. And then, of course, it's the storm surge. This is what I'm most concerned about late tonight into the overnight when Milton makes landfall. You can see here the core of the storm surge going to be Sarasota, 9 to 13 feet. But Tampa and Fort Myers both could see 8 to 12-foot storm surge. Record storm surge possible in the Tampa Bay area still, even though Milton is going to be making landfall to the south of the region. And then I want to end on the rain, because we talked about so much water coming into the coast from storm surge, but we got to talk about all the water falling from the sky for places like Central Florida. Extreme flash flood risk there, stretching from Tampa to Orlando, all the way to Daytona. Some spots could see locally more than a foot of rain, and that could bring potentially life-threatening and catastrophic flash flooding. Kira.
All right, Alyssa, thank you so much. And thank you for streaming with us. I'm Kira Phillips. Don't go far, though. We've got a lot more news next.
When I flick this switch, there'll be a horrible noise and a terrible odor. Will it hurt? Pain like you've never known.
Seems risky. I am much satisfied.
What? You scared? This is happiness.
We love Halloween.
Got me.
He's a bit silly.
Turning the machine off! Do you feel good?
Hi, my name is Patrice. I am a totally cool person with a disability. Patrice always sees the best side of life. He just looked at her and I said, would you like to be my wife?
If you get married and you're collecting a Social Security benefit, your benefit will be cut.
I don't take anything for granted.
I don't see what anyone can see in anyone.
They're never going to stop us from loving each other.
Friday night, the love triangle that ended in murder.
He knew how to charm a lady.
She was a wonderful mother.
And then it wasn't too much later that Amanda came into the picture.
It was a mess, yes.
But that's not even the most shocking part of the story.
They found Grant Hayes at 2:30 in the morning buying reciprocating saw. Wow.
And the prison interview.
What happened that night?
All new 2020, Friday night at 9/8 Central on ABC.
It's better to look at the evil than to ignore it, Father.
And what if you enjoy the looking? In my quiver just thinking about it.
FX's Grotesquerie. All new Wednesdays at 10 on FX. Stream on Hulu.
Yo, partner.
We're not partners. I'm the detective and you are the consultant. I see you brought your baby to a crime scene.
She is just spectating.
You're a single mom with 3 kids pretending to be a cop.
I am not pretending. I spot things that detectives miss. Still think my theory's flimsy?
That big brain of hers is going to help us close a lot of cases.
I'm just out here super copping.
High Potential, all new Tuesdays on ABC and stream on Hulu.
This ship is heaven. There should be no guilt on a pleasure cruise. Doctor, it's your job to keep everybody alive.
No pulse. She's in VFib. 1, 2, 3. Clear.
I have a pulse.
You're going to be okay.
You're watching America's #1 streaming news, ABC News Live. Breaking news, exclusives, live reporting across the globe. Keep streaming with ABC News Live.
Unsurvivable and storm of the century. Those are just some of the terms being used to describe Hurricane Milton. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. Our top story this hour is time is running out as Hurricane Milton continues its potentially catastrophic march toward the west coast of Florida. Right now, it's just about 100 miles off the coast of Tampa, slowly weakening to a Category 3, but the region is already getting pounded by storm surge and flooding. Traffic cameras showing a bridge in Fort Myers completely inundated by rain and rough surf. Milton is expected to do some serious damage, bringing up to 18 inches of rain and a record storm surge of up to 15 feet in Tampa Bay alone. At least 15 tornadoes also reported across the state. This ring video capturing the terrifying moments a powerful funnel just ripped right through a neighborhood in Fort Myers. Complete and utter devastation left behind. We've got team coverage. Jacqueline Lee is on the ground in Tampa and joins me first. So, Jacqueline, let's talk about the conditions there as Milton's approaching.
Kira, as you can see, the wind and the rain is really starting to pick up. Standing here, we've seen that the wind gusts will come and start to pick.
You're listening to ABC News. We'll return to ABC News Live in a minute. Right now, the latest headlines from ABC News Radio.
This is a special report from ABC News. Hurricane Milton. I'm Michelle Franzen. Whipping winds and rain already impacting Florida's west coast. Milton set to make landfall after 9 tonight near Tampa with record storm surge predicted. Gloria McNair left her senior residence and went to a shelter.
No, I've been through a lot of hurricanes, but nothing like this. So this is frightening.
President Biden earlier says Florida has the full backing and resources of the federal government.
President Biden said Hurricane Milton is looking like, quote, the storm of the century. And he urged Florida residents in the path to listen to state and local officials.
I urge everyone in Hurricane Milton's path to follow all safety instructions as we head to the next 24 hours.
The president said the federal government has made available an unprecedented number of assets to deal with the impact of Hurricane Helene and now Hurricane Milton.
ABC's Karen Travers. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says Milton will also bring power outages across the state. This is ABC News.
Stay tuned for the next update from ABC News Radio at the top of the hour. Now, back to ABC News Live.
And we've got recovery efforts. I know that folks are already thinking about this after Milton hits. Does it look like there's a good plan in place right now?
So Florida Governor Ron DeSantis held a press conference earlier this morning. He explained there's more than 50,000 linemen in Florida ready to jump in when the power inevitably goes out. There are more than 6,000 National Guard troops here in Florida and an additional 3,000 troops from other areas that are here ready to jump in, and more than 1,000 responders ready with food and water. As you can see, the wind is starting to pick up. But in terms of recovery efforts, yes, they are ready to jump into action. But of course, they want to prevent as many deaths as possible. So they are really emphasizing before it gets dark, try to get to the shelter and avoid that storm surge. Kira.
Got it. Jacqueline Lee, thanks so much. We'll continue to check in with you there in Tampa. All right, Melissa Griffin, you've been trying to time this all out for us. Let's talk about strength, path. How's it looking?
Well, Carrie, you can see here on the satellite, you can kind of just see Milton growing, just stretching across so much of the peninsula of Florida. You see that eye degrading a little bit. That's because it's been weakening. But that still doesn't mean it isn't going to be a major and dangerous storm as it moves ashore. It's a Category 3 now, so still a major hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 125 miles per hour with higher gusts. It's about 100 miles to the southwest of Tampa. I want to talk about that all-important timing because you're going to see places like Tampa Bay, St. Pete Beach, Sarasota, Fort Myers, all going to see those hurricane-force winds and gusts starting to strengthen as we head into the night. This is 7 o'clock tonight. Look at St. Pete Beach, 92-mile-per-hour winds, 73 there in Sarasota. Punta Gorda, 73 miles per hour, even into parts of central Florida, 43 miles per hour in Lakeland. That's already this evening. But you can see that eye is still off the shore. It's expected to move ashore south of Tampa near Sarasota by around 9 o'clock or so tonight, and then make its way right across the state quickly. It's already in central Florida overnight. Orlando, 53-mile-per-hour gusts there. Ocala as well. You can see Palm Coast, even the East Coast, getting in on some of these higher gusts as well tonight into early tomorrow. So here's a track. You can see by tomorrow morning, it remains a Category 1 hurricane, so still has that strength as it makes its way right across the state. That's why we have hurricane warnings from coast to coast, storm surge warnings from coast to coast. Even on the East Coast, you still could see see that 2 to 5 feet of storm surge. And then it makes its way off the coast by early tomorrow afternoon. So it's going to move out of here pretty quickly, but it's going to keep its strength packed in itself and bring damaging winds, storm surge, and heavy rain all night long, Kara.
All right, well, what do you think? What's the biggest concern right now leading up to landfall?
So as of right now, my biggest concern is not just the winds that will be continuing to gain strength through the night, but also the tornadoes. You can see even on the East Coast, where the eye has not even made landfall on the West Coast yet, you're seeing major impacts on the East Coast. Places like Vero Beach, just south of West Palm Beach into Fort Lauderdale, all these areas seeing tornado warnings. So this is a very dangerous situation. Some people might not be prepared because they didn't think that they were going to get impacts from Milton today, but they are. And even up into Orlando, very dangerous situation unfolding there, where we've seen multiple tornado warnings, even in Fort Myers earlier today. You can see these very heavy rain bands starting to make their way into Sarasota and Tampa. So parts of that area could see up to a foot of rain by later tonight. But here's the storm surge, and this is what we're most concerned about in the near term, which is tonight leading up to landfall. 8 to 12 feet in the Tampa Bay area, 9 to 13 feet storm surge, where we have those onshore winds, which is just south of the eye where it makes landfall. That's why we have the highest storm surge there. But even in Fort Myers, 8 to 12, and as far south as Naples, 5 to 8 feet. With storm surge up to 5 feet possible, even as far north as Jacksonville. Like I said, just a large storm bringing so many impacts across the state. And let's not forget the rain, the extreme flash flood risk stretching from Sarasota and Tampa tonight, right through Orlando and the East Coast early tomorrow. Kira.
All right, Melissa, thank you. So my next guests are a couple that's planning to ride out the storm in their home in St. Petersburg, Florida. Let's bring in Eliza Limite and also Max Smith. Appreciate you both for zooming in. Okay, let's start with you, Eliza. Tell us kind of what went into this decision that you guys decided to hunker down and not evacuate.
Yeah, hi, Kara. First off, thanks for having us. Second off, the reason we decided to stay here is we are actually not in an evacuation zone. So we are enough inland in the island of St. Petersburg that the storm surge supposedly isn't going to hit us. So, you know, we just decided to hunker down and stay here.
Wow, and I'm looking at the video now that you guys actually shot driving through your neighborhood. Max, tell me what you guys saw and what sort of gave you the confidence, you know, to stay where you are.
Fortunately by us, there's not as much debris out on the sides of the road, but if you go closer towards the water in the Gulfport area, which is the area that's a threat to be flooded, there's a lot of debris, as you can see in the video. People lost a lot of stuff from the past hurricane, and we didn't really have much time to prepare for this one. So a lot of things were really just left out on the side of the road.
So are there other people in your area that are staying there, Eliza?
You know what? We actually, our window's right there to our street, and we keep seeing people drive by. So I guess there are people here.
So I noticed behind you.
I saw someone walking outside.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry about that, Max. Go ahead.
Literally about like 10 minutes ago, I saw a lady like walking down the street just in a rain poncho. So hopefully these people are staying safe.
Well, I understand your business is the Boho Plant Club. I can see behind you all the various plants. You clearly have a good green thumb. Yeah. You're going to be getting plenty of rain.
Thank you.
Yes. So what are you going to do? I mean, just with all your plants and your landscaping plans, did you have to put those in a safe place, or what did you do?
Yeah, unfortunately, so you guys know, we just got hit with Hurricane Helene. We did not prepare enough. We should have. We left all of our plants in our greenhouse. The greenhouse got demolished. So we have to now work to, you know, produce product again and get all of our product back up. But for right now, whatever plants did survive Helene are inside with us. So.
Oh, wow. So how did you guys fortify the home for this time around?
You know, we just got brand new hurricane windows. We went outside and collected everything outside that could have possibly, you know, flown around. Anything that could break windows, anything that could break windows of a car. But, you know, that there's only so much you could do.
I know, and you're going to ride it out. Eliza, Max, okay, we'll be checking in on you guys. Thank you so much for zooming in.
Thanks, Kara.
All right. And if you're impacted by Hurricane Milton and in need of any help or resources, and even Helene, if you got hit by that storm as well, call the FEMA hotline, 1-800-621-3362. You can also download the FEMA app. All right, let's listen in to our Tampa ABC station, WFTS, as its team tracks the very latest of what's happening in Florida. Let's go ahead and listen in.
As we heard, I think from Casey and Katie, that as soon as they heard thunder, and as we know, if you hear thunder, that means that lightning is right nearby, as Dennis has taught me for 20-some years. I finally figured it out, and now I can recite it. But it's true, and so when they do hear thunder, they definitely get to a safe location so they're not struck by lightning, and that is, of course, all of our crews try to stay as safe as they can. Our coverage turns now to Sarasota, which we now know could be closer to ground zero.
ABC Action News reporter Julie Salamone is live for us near Sarasota High School. Julie, I'm assuming that's an evacuation area. How are things looking? Have you talked to anyone?
Lauren, they evacuated zones A, B, and C. The area we're in, I believe, is zone D. So we're in a safe location. Like you ladies were talking about, we are right by a garage into a home that we can quickly run to if conditions get even nastier. It's windy out here. It's been raining off and on. You can take a look at the street. There is some puddling starting to form here. We're on Novus Street, and like you mentioned, it's not far from Sarasota High School. We're about a mile north from the high school, one of the major high schools in the area. Now, Sarasota County government officials actually posted on X a little while ago saying flooding from Milton will be deadly. Roads will be washed out. Do not attempt to leave your place of shelter when the storm starts for any reason. Driving conditions will be impossible. And obviously listen to your local officials. And we, of course, will be here on air and online bringing you the very latest with this storm. So this is Novus Street. We're seeing some gusty winds, rain off and on as we get hit with some of these outer bands. And, you know, just watching to see how this all unfolds. I'm going to send it back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Julie. We want to check in now with Chief Meteorologist Dennis Phillips. Dennis, a lot going on behind you.
There is. And guys, it's not the best news. Look, for 30 some odd years, we've been here, and the majority of the time we look at these storms, and there have been plenty of times where we've sat here and we're like, you know what? Charlie, Irma, Ian. There were times, I have no doubt, that every one of us thought that was going to be our storm, and it moved, it turned, it did what it did, and we had a near miss. Many times those near misses were devastation for other areas, Punta Gorda and Fort Myers, just with Ian. This is our year. This storm is not going to miss the Bay Area. This storm may weaken just a bit more to minimize the threat, but we've just been talking, Greg and Allie and Jason and myself, you know, we're looking at real-time nowcasting. You know, the models, this is something I'll say over and over again. You throw the models out the window and you look out the window because we're now 4 or 5 hours away from landfall. So the models are meaningless at this point. You literally, and no lie, last storm, Jason laughed at me because there's a big TV over there, and we had the way that the storm was moving, and I had a piece of paper, and I was lining up the piece of paper and the track to see where it was going. So with all the technology, with everything we have, nowcasting is still just looking at what you have. And unfortunately, what we have right now is a hurricane that is pretty much west of Northport, and it's just not showing enough of a sign to turn to the northeast to miss the Bay Area. And for that matter, more than likely to even miss the Bay. It's, you know, you never say never, right? But there's your eye right there. And what we've been saying, look, in terms of winds, it's not going to make much of a difference. The only exception, and we've been saying this for 5 days now, I'll say it again, there's going to be a 5 to 7 mile area that's going to have extreme winds. And the fact that the storm it's incredibly ragged right now. And if you were watching yesterday, we were talking about how you could draw a line through the eye. The eye is right here. Remember that storm a couple of days ago that had what was looking to be like a perfect eye in a sense? Well, now that's the northern eye wall. I was saying if you went outside at night as this storm passed and you were in the southern eye wall, you'd see stars. It might still be very windy, but you'd see stars. So we literally have a hurricane that's split in half. And you look at the wobbles and, you know, you hope that maybe one is moving one way or maybe another. But at the end of the day, there is just no possible way that this is going to miss the Bay Area. So we've prepared the best that we can. I know that y'all, some folks are watching us on our streaming app right now from other states. Okay, I'm getting a picture. Really, really bad rain in Clearwater. Let's go back to this. This is what we're talking about here, guys, all right? So you have this right here, okay? There's your eye. Almost all of the weather, almost all of the rough weather is on the north side of that eye. That's the eye of the eye wall, okay? And Jason's been talking a lot about that. This is going to lead to some pretty significant freshwater flooding. Nothing to do with the surge, okay? But right now, the most important question is, will the surge rise higher in the Bay? And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think that answer is yes. Now, we're not ready to sit here and say that it's going to be a 10 to 15-foot surge like the worst-case scenario, because honestly, the worst-case scenario, the way that the Hurricane Center and the way that the models were looking at it, was a much stronger storm than it is right now. What was it, Allie, down to 125? Is that what it was? Yeah, down to 125. So it's weakening, and it conceivably, at landfall, could be very close to a Cat 2, minimum Cat 3 hurricane. So that's good, right? So less wind, you know, less severe weather. The rain is not going to change. But as we've been saying now for days, the surge after Helene, the last thing that we need is additional surge. We had nearly 8 feet of water, 7.2 feet, I think it was, in the Bay with Helene. It appears pretty likely if this gets to the mouth of the Bay, the southern part of the Bay will see higher surge. There's still a and this is crazy. Greg and I were just talking about this. The very accurate model that predicted Helene almost perfectly, right? The last we checked had about a 5 or 6 foot surge for the southern Bay and 0 surge for the northern Bay up around Oldsmar. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but what I'm telling you is it is that close of a call. When you have, because remember, wherever that eye crosses, wherever it crosses, north offshore flow, you can see it. Everything's pushing away. But what happens south, everything pushes in. So regardless of where landfall occurs, I mean, there's that southwest flow, and it just continues to push water. And the fact that it might be weakening isn't going to have a huge impact on surge because it's just a big area pushing the water. It isn't the wind that's actually moving the water. It's the actual storm forcing it. The description that Greg likes to use is imagine a bathtub, and you're on one side of the bathtub, and you put a wave, and that wave goes and hits the other side of the bathtub and lifts up. So that's the problem with the Bay. As that water goes in, it reaches the end of the Bay, and it pushes up and creates additional surge. So ultimately, there's the offshore flow wherever that eye will occur, and then just at and south of the eye, the onshore flow occurs. And I've been doing this for a long, long time, and I don't think I've ever seen a track that is so razor thin close to having such a massive impact on one area versus the other. And I talked about this a little while ago. I mean, there's estimates that if this storm goes into the Bay as a Cat 3 or 4, you could have $175 billion worth of damage. If it goes into Sarasota, you've got about $100 billion. So it is obvious because there's well over 3 million people. You've got all of this built up right along the water. And I mean, look, we all knew this was going to happen at some point. I mean, we do. How many times did we luck out? I mean, it's not a matter of if, it's when. Well, unfortunately, today is the when. So here's the timetable. High tide is later tonight. Here's a good little bit of positivity is the high tide is not particularly high. It comes later on tonight between 10 and midnight. It's about 2 feet. It was about a foot higher with Helene. So we are certainly looking at that water increasing based on the track. The NHC is going to have its new track coming out any minute. I'll let you know whether or not it's actually referencing the fact that this looks like there will be an impact on the Bay. Again, I do not believe you are looking at that worst case 10 to 15 foot. I do not believe that. but I also don't think we're going to luck out with 3 to 5 either. I think it's going to be somewhere in between. You could argue somewhere closer to Helene numbers, maybe a touch higher. But as you see here, I mean, there's the eye. It's west of Northport, and it is not moving due east, nor will it. So this is something that we're going to continue to track. Now, I'm going to check the new numbers from the Hurricane Center. But again, timing, the hurricane force winds will start moving onshore Sarasota County in the next couple of hours. There's already gusts well into.
And that was live storm coverage from our Tampa station, WFTS. We are going to take a quick break. Latest on Hurricane Milton as the monster storm closes in on Florida when we come back.
This ship is heaven. There should be no guilt on a pleasure cruise. Doctor, it's your job to keep everybody alive.
No pulse. She's in VFib. 1, 2, 3. Clear.
I have a pulse.
You're gonna be okay.
Tonight, David Muir reports from Florida, tracking Hurricane Milton. The life-threatening monster storm takes aim. Millions brace for widespreading intense winds and possible tornadoes. World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast.
Teenagers agreed to share their digital experiences.
There's so much hate.
It took a toll on me, but I'm not alone in this.
It's up to us to figure out how we can still be people.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the reigning champion right here in Mexico City, La Máquina.
¿Ganamos? ¿Tú qué crees, papá?
¿Y dónde está mi
Blindside. It was a story tailor-made for Hollywood. A wealthy white family taking in a black teenager.
Michael Orr filing a lawsuit saying it was far from the truth.
Tui contesting his suit.
When you watch that film back, it's a little cringy, and in some cases wasn't true at all.
Inside the real story of how Super Bowl champion Michael Orr became involved with the multimillionaire Tui family. Who will come out on top?
Behind the Blind Side, now streaming on Hulu.
I'm Kara Phillips. You're watching ABC News Live coverage of Hurricane Milton. The powerful storm set to slam into western Florida tonight, and its outer bands lashing the coast as time runs out for residents to escape. We're going to listen in once again to our Tampa ABC station, WFTS, as its team tracks the very latest.
Winds of 125 miles per hour as that storm continues to move well on through. And Dennis, you know, we are continuing to see the storm move well in, and even on radar, just a lot of heavy rainfall in the area.
Yeah, and you look at those numbers right there. I mean, we literally have a storm that's split in half. So this will actually pop up immediately when the NHC changes. And I would not be surprised if, you know, they take the track and they bring it a little bit more to the north. It's kind of a moot point, right? We all see what we see. We know what we see. But I do think the discussions from the Hurricane Center will be interesting to see if they address the bay, because it's the elephant in the room. You have to. I mean, at this point, we've just said it. There's no way around the fact that at least part of the bay is going to get a 5 to 8 foot surge, whether it's the entire bay. I mean, I honestly don't think I've ever seen a forecast where a 10-mile difference might be the difference from the entire bay having surge to maybe only the southern half. And I've certainly never seen models like the Slosh model showing earlier on having the South Bay 5, 6 feet, the North Bay 0 surge. So, but that was based on the track earlier on. And unfortunately, I just can't see. A lot of times the Hurricane Center at this point says, you know, it is what it is. We're just going to track it, and we're going to leave it to the locals to go in and kind of show what's going on. But at this point, still looking at 125-mile-an-hour winds. The pressure has been going up. That means it's weakening. So overall, let's recap the impacts, all right? Wind. I think a lot of times most folks, at least inland, think about the wind because this is going to go across the state. And there will be hurricane-force winds in Polk County. There will be hurricane-force winds in Orlando. There will be hurricane-force winds in Melbourne. So it is going to make it all the way across the state as a hurricane. But if this track is a little bit more closer to the bay, remember that 5 to 7 mile area with the higher winds could extend to 100 to 105 mile an hour gusts as far north as St. Pete. And that is a real possibility. And like I mentioned a little while ago, we had a model last night that showed 101, 102 in St. Pete this evening. I chose not to show it because the Hurricane Center was not going that route, but it might very well end up coming to fruition and being the way that this plays out. So look, we're hunkered down. I want to mention a couple of things for you. Odds are pretty high. Many folks are going to lose power. So we have a couple of, and I have chased hurricanes before, one in particular, Rita, back in 05, which was a Cat 5 in Beaumont, Texas. And once the storm hits and you lose power and it's nighttime, not only is it frightening. I mean, I know your anxiety is through the roof right now. I know it. We all feel it. We all sense it. I mean, I walk into the newsroom. I mean, every single person that works here lives in the community just like you do. And this is not national media that might live somewhere else. These are your neighbors. And these are your friends. And it just changed, it looked like, Jason, didn't it? It did, actually. Matter of fact, the pressure went down a little bit, down to 948 millibars. And yeah, look at the track. Yep. Go ahead and zoom into that if you can. So there's the updated track. It was inevitable, right? I mean, it was. There is the track, still scooting kind of by northwestern Manatee, but certainly much, I mean, that's right over the Skyway, or pretty darn close to it, right? So there it is. That is the updated track. Now, winds are down to 120. This could conceivably be very close to a Category 2 hurricane when it makes landfall. So that is the good news out of this. A weaker storm.
And as we've been monitoring this monster storm about to hit the state of Florida, you are watching there our ABC affiliate WFTS in Tampa, watching the local coverage as this storm is approaching. We will have continuing 24/7 coverage of this storm. I'm Kira Phillips. Thanks so much for tuning in. Kana Whitworth takes it from here right after a quick break.
Chelsea here. Another month and another high utility bill. Those old windows and doors might be the culprit, letting valuable energy escape. At Renewal by Andersen, our energy-efficient windows and doors have the latest advanced technology, keeping your home comfortable all year round. Renewal by Andersen has a limited-time offer. Buy 4 windows and/or patio doors and get the 5th one free. Plus, enjoy 0 money down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for 12 months. Some restrictions apply. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com for all the details. License number CGC 1527613.
Fill your day with podcasts on TuneIn. Whether you're passing the time on your commute, catching up during your workouts, or just tuning in while hanging out, all your favorite podcasts are here on TuneIn. The Daily.
Are you ready to record another episode of Chatbots Behaving Badly?
Yes. Smartless.
Smartless. When 3 friends, Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnett.
Marketplace.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Marketplace podcast.
Just search podcasts or tell your device to play your favorite podcast on TuneIn.
The Jack FM guarantee. At least one stinker in every bunch of songs. Just search Jack FM on TuneIn to listen.
It's been...
Jack FM. Playing what we want.
The TuneIn app is the most convenient way to access all your favorite audio on the go. Download the TuneIn app and stay plugged in wherever your day takes you. With TuneIn, you can listen to the best music, podcasts, talk shows, and sports no matter where you are. Search for TuneIn in the App Store to download the app today. You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
If you having girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems.
But sports ain't one. Sports.
Drove deep to left field. There it goes. Come on.
Floated and wide open. Touchdown. As long as you listen to sports on TuneIn, you don't have any problems. Sports and Sports Talk is on TuneIn Radio. Search sports to listen now.
You're listening to ABC News, America's #1 source for news. Now streaming here 24/7. At the top and bottom of the hour, you'll get live updates from ABC News Radio. Then breaking news, in-depth reporting, and more from ABC News Live. Straightforward journalism, powerful storytelling, always up to date. Now, the latest headlines, live from ABC News headquarters in New York.
From ABC News, I'm Lindsay Davis, anchor of Prime, streaming weeknights on ABC News Live. From the White House, President Biden joins the chorus of voices warning residents in western Florida to begin sheltering in place as Hurricane Milton barrels toward the coast.
It's looking like the storm of the century.
The storm will make landfall later today or early tomorrow with life-threatening storm surge and heavy rainfall expected. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says they're ready for whatever comes their way.
We are bracing and are prepared to receive a major hit. We're facing this with the seriousness it deserves, but also with the determination that we will get through this.
President Biden also speaking with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today, the first time the two leaders have spoken since August. The call comes as the region waits on Israel's response to a missile attack last week that Iran carried out in retaliation for Israel's military offensive against Hezbollah in Lebanon. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
The U.S. and the Israeli government have had discussion since last week, certainly since after the Iran attack. And so those discussions continued with the president and the prime minister.
Plane maker Boeing has withdrawn what they called their best and final offer to striking machinists that would have raised their pay by 30% over 4 years. ABC's Alex Stone.
Boeing machinists who build the 737, 767, and 777 have rejected it because they want a 40% pay raise, and mostly they want their pensions reinstated. That's something Boeing says it is unable to do. The strike is dragging on as Boeing's factory lines are shut down and the company is facing likely credit downgrades.
Early voting begins in battleground Arizona today with vice presidential candidate Senator J.D. Vance and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz both holding rallies in Chandler and Tucson to garner support with voters as those first ballots begin to trickle in. You're listening to ABC News.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide cleans better than the leading competitive free detergent, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues.
Plus, Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
Do you want to buy a home but don't know where to begin? Let's make home the goal.
Bon, n'a dit bonsoir avec tout super branché et tout auditeur auditrice qui branché Radio Télé Audience qui branché Radio Puissance Inter. Pas oublier nous Jacksonville nous sous 96.5 FM stéréo nous sous 1530 AM. Nous connaissons jodia nous font une émission spéciale à cause de un gros cyclone qui est sous Floride là. Nous voulons parler de monde qui vivent dans Florida, dans state Florida ou bien dans l'état Floride pour nous prendre en pile précaution avec un cyclone Milton qui commençait dans Floride là. Nous tapons de l'autre radio qui tape des informations en anglais qui a demandé population pour nous prendre en pile précaution parce que pour qu'on y a là et cyclone a frappé en pile ville dans Floride là, dans une zone tant que Fort Myers, tant que zone West Palm et Florida et zone ça yo, cyclone a commencé là-dedans et il Tampa tout, il commencé à frapper Tampa avec une catégorie 3 et dernière dimension, il dit capable de catégorie 5 et c'est une raison en pile monde qui vivre Tampa obligé quitter Cayo pour y aller prendre refuge dans l'autre ville qui gagne en Floride là ou bien qui pas dans state Florida parce que yo annoncé cyclone n'a capable faire gros dégâts. Et bien a demandé monde qui habitait tout près lake, monde qui habitait tout près la mer tout pour nous évacuer quitter zone ça yo. Par exemple, pas besoin de dire non pour nous quitter ville côté nous pour nous venir Jacksonville, même les il y a possibilité pour cyclone n'a passer Jacksonville à 8h du soir jeudi à là qui c'est mercredi 9 octobre. Cyclone n'a pour le passer dans soirée à 8h du soir et pas gain hôtel tout Jacksonville, tout hôtel yo book parce que gain pile monde qui sorti dans l'autre state et pardon qui sorti dans l'autre ville dans Floride là qui obligé venir prendre refuge dans Jacksonville Florida. Mais dans toute ville qui gagne dans Floride là côté du cyclone ça capable de faire un pile dégâts ces zones et Tampa n'a pas des monde qui habitent Tampa et nous connaissons pas trop loin et Orlando tout Tampa pas trop loin Orlando pour monde ça yo éviter zone ça yo par exemple et monde qui habite Naples et nous n'a regardé image là faut que nous en pile monde qui habite Naples tout obligé quitter zone ça et surtout monde qui habite bord en mer qui habite bord lake yo monde ça yo obligé quitter zone ça yo et monde qui habite tout dans Crystal River qui dans Floride là tout nous zone ça yo censé blanche parce que y a un pile monde qui obligé quitter zone ça yo pour aller prendre refuge dans l'autre ville ou bien dans l'autre state qui gagne dans pays États-Unis et surtout pour Tampa et nous connaît dernier cyclone qui était passé qui c'est Hélène lui frappé ville Tampa en pile et on dit dans quelques jours je dis là il y a l'autre Milton qui pourrait frapper zone Floride là et monde qui dans ouest east et monde ça prend plus frappe de cyclone là par exemple nous connaît la passer dans nord et c'est force là qui a diminué même là il dit pour Jacksonville est capable gain gros dégâts mais pas oublier Jacksonville nous dans nord est capable force là et force cyclone là et nous voulons parler de cyclone Milton li capable diminuer pendant la attaquer ville ça et l'autre côté du cyclone ça pour le passer dans North Carolina tout monde qui habite dans North Carolina il dit la passer dans North Carolina et il est capable faire des gâteaux dans state North Carolina et nous connaissons un pile haïtien qui vivent North Carolina n'a demandé haïtien ça yo capable de protéger tête et pourquoi pas tout le monde qui habite dans ville ça yo pour protéger tête yo alerte yo a bay et dans média y a bay yo dans télévision radio a bay yo l'autre réseaux sociaux a bay yo mes amis surtout pour monde qui habite dans Floride là pour un petit temps pour nous donner des informations yo tant des radios garder télévision pour nous voir comment nous capable protéger tête nous et nous connaissons une campagne politique qui a fait là pour élection 5 novembre gen voye monter cap fait bon côté candidat républicain qui dit gouvernement pas prendre responsabilité envers monde qui sinistré dans passage cyclone Hélène et lui même dit Donald Trump même dit comme cyclone là et gouvernement Biden n'a prend li bay monde qui sans papier c'est tout gens a frappé nous connaissons qui ça qui a passé en République dominicaine côté la République dominicaine a déporté un pile haïtien et au bay tête objectif pour déporter 10 000 haïtiens chaque semaine et nous comment a maltraité haïtiens en République dominicaine ça pas fait longtemps là on a fait manger chien sous dos nous on a volé chat on a volé canard et gon l'autre bagarre encore dans notre plague sous dos monde qui illégal bon ça veut pas dire haïtien seulement non il dit monde qui sans papier qui vivent dans les États-Unis gouvernement prend l'argent li bail monde ça manger c'est une raison les citoyens américains aux victimes en bas passage cyclone yo gouvernement pas qu'à vraiment porter aide by monde ça yo malgré gouvernement démenti ça dans notre chambre dit on a demandé pour prendre un pile précaution même cap vivre dans en Florida dans état Floride là et cyclone n'a commencé nous capable boire dans quête ville ou bien côté habité on pas gagner circulation machine gain des ponts tout yo obligé barrer pour ça pour éviter monde passer et sous pont yo par exemple une ville tant que Jacksonville nous connaît qui gagne pile pont son ville presque qui construit sous de l'eau et bien en pile majorité pont Jacksonville et Meria prend décision pour monde pas fréquenter et zone ça yo et fermer tout pont ça yo même genre avec Orlando si gain bon pas quoi gain trop pont et dans zone Orlando bien Tampa mais pas oublier monde qui habite dans zone côté qui gain la mer qui gain de l'eau n'a demandé pour éviter zone ça ou même tout qui parquer machine nous en bon pied bois déplacer machine là et si vous avez possibilité pour aller mettre dans storage tout aller mettre machine dans storage pendant on dit et pour un jour des jours parce que compagnie assurance yo commence à plein là yo dit yo fait en pile yo alors dédommager en pile monde pendant passage cyclone Hélène et pour Milton tout qui va faire en pile dégâts dans état Floride là il va le dépasser en pile cob même les machines ont gain assurance là capable ranger machine là et pendant passage cyclone là s'il crasé ou bien si de l'eau rentre dans moteur mais pas oublier la petit temps parce que Abdou c'est na époque cyclone noé quantité de temps pour t'avoir on venir garder machine là pour évaluer combien cob le coûter pour capable bon cob ou aller acheter l'autre machine là pour un pile temps laisse ça on font bon petit temps à pied et pour le gon problème tout na rento car par exemple compagnie cap le machine yo parce que pour le gain pile demande tout après cyclone là pour monde qui besoin machine il y a un pile monde machine yo a crasé ou bien de l'eau à rentrer dans moteur machine yo l'assurance pour le bail possibilité pour capable de machine alors si vous gagne rento car et na assurance yo mais et pour une difficulté tout pour maison cap le machine ça rejoindre machine pour bail pour louer client parce que demande là pour l'empile passer et tout ça c'est des bagailles pour nous commencer faire prévention pour yo et pour les arriver pour ne pas gagner trop de problèmes et surtout pour haïtiens qui vivent en Floride. Nous connaissons un dernier cyclone qui était passé là avant Hélène, il était fait un pile dégâts dans Fort Myers et cyclone ça a tout il dit la fait un pile dégâts dans zone ça on capable de zone qui plus menacée et pour passage cyclone Milton c'est Fort Myers ensemble avec Tampa ça va veut dire l'autre ville va prendre frappe tant que West Palm Beach et Fort Lauderdale et Pompano Beach zone ça yo mais il dit deux villes ça yo capable prendre gros frappe pendant passage en cyclone et Milton et qui est sous Floride là pour le moment on a parlé là et bien de temps en temps on a porté quelques informations pour nous dire comment on capable protéger tête tout et si pas gain coupure électrique tout parce que à n'importe moment nous capable gain blackout et pas oublier non les gain blackout comme ça pendant cyclone n'a pas pensé nous pour joindre courant ça nous t'a supposé faire bon si nous pas temps faire c'est la très difficile qu'on y a pour nous joindre bagage ça en store et il y a des bagages qu'on y a là ou passer dans plusieurs stores par joindre tant que de l'eau papier toilette baleine flash bagage ça pas facile joindre dans plusieurs stores monde passer gen monde qui passer dans Walmart gen monde qui passer dans Publix monde qui passer dans Winn-Dixie yo pas joindre papier toilette yo pas joindre de l'eau yo pas joindre baleine tout et flash tout yo pas joindre type de bagage ça yo pour capable utiliser si tu as gagné coupure électrique pendant passage cyclone Milton qui sous Floride pour moi n'a parlé là et monde qui regarder image soit sur TikTok ou bien qui regarder image tout sur page Facebook ou bien YouTube ou bien X n'a regarder qui à qui force vent cyclone ça venir pas oublier depuis il y a un gros vent comme ça gain chance tout pour nous prendre inondation c'est une raison non dire comme ça les dépôts qu'on a habité bord de l'eau ou habité bord la mer essayer évacuer zone ça yo. Et nous connaît et grand pile monde qui habite bon lake. Et grand pile monde qui habite bon en mer dans Floride là. N'a demandé pour essayer protéger tête. N'a toujours quitté avec une autre station sœur qui ba nous quelques informations mais c'est en anglais. Moi c'est information ba yo, c'est pas trop difficile pour nous comprendre et ça et confrère a parlé pendant passage cyclone ça qui gagne dans état Floride là.
What does it take to be the most watched newscast in America?
An operation to capture ISIS fighters.
Is this our combat operations center?
We're approaching the gate now. Militants came in from 4 or 5 different directions.
Operational nuclear reactor.
So you have a couple loaded and ready to go. The house is destroyed, but the flag, there's not a tear in it.
Not a tear in it.
How important is this label right here, Made in the USA? Look at your smile. You're proud of this.
I love it.
Great work.
Hi. Where are you? Where are you?
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
David, good to meet you. Ismail? David.
David.
Yes. I'm David Muir.
I know who you are.
You
I watch
do?
you every night.
ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast.
I love this version of me. America's #1 most watched daytime talk show is ABC's The View.
You all heard it here first.
I love it. I'm there for it. Hot topics, political views.
That's what we're about.
Voices that matter. It all goes down right here.
That's why it's called the what?
The View.
I love it. I'm all in. Second that. This is going to be must-see TV, and so much could happen.
Things have changed.
What does that mean?
It means everyone is vulnerable. I know for a fact there's something else at work here.
When you put blood on the ground, there's no going back from it.
FX is the old man. All new Thursdays at 10 on FX. Stream on Hulu.
Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories.
A lot of news today, so let's get into it.
Listen now to the Daily News Podcast honored with 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards and see why the New York Times calls it a news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, ABC News. Make it your daily first listen.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Wherever you get your podcasts, Start Here.
Yo, partner.
We're not partners. I'm the detective and you are the consultant. I see you brought your baby to a crime scene.
She is just spectating.
You're a single mom with 3 kids pretending to be a cop.
I am not pretending. I spot things that detectives miss. Still think my theory's flimsy?
That big brain of hers is going to help us close a lot of cases.
I'm just out here super copping. High Potential, all new Tuesdays on ABC and stream on Hulu.
And welcome back. The Kremlin is denying a report that Russian President Vladimir Putin has been in contact with former President Trump since he left the White House. Journalist Bob Woodward reportedly writes about the alleged interactions in his soon-to-be-released book titled War. ABC News Chief Washington correspondent John Carl spoke with the former president, who also denies those claims.
As the COVID pandemic was raging and the government could not produce enough COVID tests for the American people, then President Donald Trump secretly sent newly developed and extremely hard to get rapid testing devices to Russia to Vladimir Putin for the dictator's personal use. That's according to Bob Woodward in a soon-to-be-published book called War. Woodward writes that Putin told Trump to keep it a secret, saying, quote, "I don't want you to tell anybody because people will get mad at you, not me." Kamala Harris seized on Woodward's reporting, talking about it on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
Donald Trump secretly sent COVID test kits to Putin for his personal use. I ask everyone here and everyone who is watching, you remember what those days were like? You remember how many people did not have tests and were trying to scramble to get them? And this man is giving COVID test kits to Vladimir Putin? Think about what this means, on top of him sending love letters to Kim Jong-un. No, think about it. He thinks Vladimir Putin is his friend. What about the American people? They should be your first friend.
Trump often boasts about his close relationship with Putin.
I got along very well with Putin. I spoke to him a lot. Didn't they say how nice I was to Russia? No, I wasn't nice, but we got along. We had a good relationship, which is a good thing, not a bad thing.
Woodward also reports that Trump has had, quote, multiple phone calls with Putin since he left the White House, including at least one call earlier this year. I spoke to Trump, and he denied it all. He said was that you've had a number of conversations with Putin. Is that true? I mean, I imagine that could be. No?
That's false.
Oh, really?
That's false.
So you haven't spoken to him since you left the White House?
No, I have not.
And the other.
False.
I also asked him about those COVID tests. He denied that, too. And the other thing he said is that you had provided some Abbott test machines to Putin back during the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, false.
All right, and our thanks to John Carl for that reporting. Coming up next here on ABC News Live, we have the latest for you on Hurricane Milton. As the monster storm closes in on Florida and is expected to make landfall in just hours, we have more details ahead. Stay with us.
Yo, partner.
We're not partners. I'm the detective and you are the consultant. I see you brought your baby to a crime scene.
She is just spectating.
You're a single mom with 3 kids pretending to be a cop.
I am not pretending. I spot things that detectives miss. Still think my theory's flimsy?
That big brain of hers is going to help us close a lot of cases.
I'm just out here super copping.
High Potential, all new Tuesdays on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Nightline. The stories that shape your world, that shape your life. Dramatic, stunning, empowering, jaw-dropping. The most powerful stories of our time. Nightline. On right after Kimmel and streaming on Hulu. Okay, we've got Jets fans, we've got Bills fans, and we're about to get down to it for GMA's ultimate Monday Night Football tailgate. So, Bills, Jets. Which fans are about to represent biggest and best? Don't miss GMA Monday.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the reigning champion right here in Mexico City, La Máquina.
¿Ganamos? ¿Tú qué crees, papá?
¿Y dónde está mi
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families.
On the ground in Ukraine.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
I'm Mola Lungi in Tehran. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
This ship is heaven. There should be no guilt on a pleasure cruise. Doctor, it's your job to keep everybody alive.
No pulse. She's in VFib. 1, 2, 3. Clear.
I have a pulse.
You're gonna be okay.
Welcome back. We are tracking the latest as Hurricane Milton rapidly approaches Florida as a powerful Category 3 storm set to make landfall tonight. The hurricane's outer bands lashing the state's western coast as time runs out for people to escape to higher ground. Tampa's mayor warning, quote, "This is a matter of life and death." The storm surge could reach up to 9 feet in Tampa and up to 12 feet in Fort Myers and Sarasota. Forecasters are saying it could be a life-threatening 13 feet. Now, these areas and others, as you know, are still reeling from Hurricane Helene, and experts say that all of that leftover debris could now become flying shrapnel when Milton hits. There's winds expected topping 100 miles an hour. The severe weather already triggering tornadoes in Florida as the hurricane bears down on the coast. We have some video that shows the reported tornado. This is Fort Myers, Florida. Well, a lot of families across Florida are staying in shelters. They don't have anywhere else to go. Our Whit Johnson spoke with some of them at an emergency shelter. This is in Tampa. Take a listen.
And you said you'd packed up your stuff. You weren't sure if you were going to evacuate to a shelter or try to ride it out. Talk about that decision-making process and what you're considering.
Yeah, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. I can lose my home. I can lose my possessions, but you can't mess around with your health. I was contemplating it. Many of my neighbors decided to ride it out. Again, I have children. I just don't want to. I don't want to take a chance with my health.
How frightening is this? 2 major storms in just a couple of weeks.
It's frightening. It's frightening. I didn't leave the first storm, Helene. I stayed home. But this one is a little different, so I'm not going to take a chance.
Not taking a chance. So born and raised in Tampa, you ever experienced anything like this?
Not like this, no. No, I've been through a lot of hurricanes, but nothing like this. So this is frightening.
There's a spokesperson in that county there in Tampa that says that there is more than 1,300 people currently in shelters there. They have 14 different shelters that are open, and they are clearly being used by residents in need. And our thanks to Whit Johnson for those interviews. If you're impacted by Hurricane Milton and in need of any help or resources, be sure to call the FEMA hotline, 1-800-621-3362, or you can download the FEMA app for help. And thank you for streaming with us. I'm Kana Whitworth. We have a lot more coverage ahead of Milton as it approaches Florida. We will also have live special coverage late into the evening. You can find us on Disney Plus, Hulu, and anywhere else you stream live news. And if you're on the go, watch us on the ABC News app or abcnews.com. We have more complete hurricane coverage after the break.
Sex, lies, and a double murder.
2 small children were kidnapped.
Your mom and dad are going to be right here waiting on you when you get home.
When the twist came, then it completely exploded.
It's one of the craziest stories I've ever heard, and people don't know about it.
What kind of mother would kill her own children?
After nearly 30 years in prison, Smith now has a chance at parole. Could the woman once dubbed the most hated mom in America go free?
Killer Mom, now streaming on Hulu.
This ship is heaven. There should be no guilt on a pleasure cruise. Doctor, it's your job to keep everybody alive.
No pulse. She's in VFib. 1, 2, 3. Clear.
I have a pulse.
You're gonna be okay.
True natural beauty, untouched. One of the last of its kind. But this comes at a cost. 5 countries, 5 incredible real stories of adventure, danger,
We have to go.
and deceit. These are the last lands, the national parks around the world that have to be saved.
Hey, good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Are you ready? Covering the biggest events in the country right now.
There's a lot going on here this morning.
You don't just see it, you feel it.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in too. I'll be here.
I am here and so happy. I'm in. I'm in too.
Michael Jordan.
Très souvent, qui ça gagne dans rencontre ça? 1, ou une activité officielle, formelle, qu'on vient là-dedans. 2, ou gagne très souvent des visites qui doivent associer avec événements à participer là-dedans. Et puis troisièmement, ou gagner un moment de récréation, etc. Très souvent, qui ça vous mettez là-dedans, li kon gen là dans les restaurants, li gen là dans le club, ça dépend de dans qui pays ou aller, kon gen des bagailles de striptease que yo kon mette là-dedans, yo mette toute qualité bagay qu'on y a moun qui pas aller, ka toujours pas aller. Exemple, moi voyager à travers le monde, gende le par exemple, gende moun en fonction de conviction religieuse yo, le dit yo maintenant qui ça yo pour aller, gen qui pas aller. M'a ban nou exemple simple. Moi songe m'aller dans une activité aux États-Unis et puis yo te mette opéra. Te gen opéra pour mon aller, bah comme ça. Moi songe te gen deux mesdames qui étaient dans délégation qui dit ça c'est bagay diable, yo pas pour aller dans affaire bagay diable. Donc yo pas aller dans opéra. Comprendre bien? M'aller dans des bagay en République dominicaine. OK, leur arrivé et c'était des bagages était gon paquet stripteaseuses. Moi songe te gagné deux nèg qui te dit que c'est pour une fois venir faire expérience pour regarder stripteaseuses et puis cool fond là et dit ah mon cher pas bon menti m'a prendre mal dormi et ça pas ambiance spam etc. Comprenez-nous? OK. Ça me voulait nous comprendre c'est que en général tout bagage ça yo existait qu'on a ça pas dépendre de ou même est-ce que c'est pratique ou est-ce que c'est feeling ou ma pour parenthèse pour nous mal Chili mal fait Chili à tout prix le rivé gon camarade haïtien qui était connaissait dans hôtel Marriott ça me tape descendre avec équipe moi et puis automatiquement rivé monsieur vient saluer mon cher content mon cher là pour me bon service bail comme ça il dit monsieur mon cher bien content nous parler côté monsieur sorti etc. et puis après ça, monsieur vient côté, monsieur dit, mon cher, monsieur Numa, et ça, c'est moi qui capable gérer ça en personne pour. Et puis il montre mon catalogue, qui a un paquet de femmes, qui a un paquet de super belles femmes, notamment des Colombiennes, des Vénézuéliennes, etc. Monsieur dit, catalogue où est montre là, monsieur Numa? C'est pas photo, non? Comme si, comme exemple de photo, non? Moun ouais qui dans catalogue là c'est exactement ou a choisi mener pour mais c'est un choc pour ami l'homme dit il pas fait bagage ça yo je dis ah bon il dit non mon cher pas fait bagage ça yo l'homme sorti et mal à l'étranger mal couvrir événement d'ailleurs pas aimer logique café pas aimer pour qui ça pas aimer logique sortir au monde et puis fouer mon poche ou balle et puis payer là moi ça me pas aimer OK donc c'était presque une douche froide 2 ans mi te prend le temps de me dire non bah ça on pas là dedans yo on pas pratiquer yo ça pas moi puis ah bon puis et puis on a commencé dire mais qui est-ce qui te vinn là c'est lui qui te bal monde mais qui ministre qui te passé là mon cher bah me te laguer ça là mes ministres etc. Ouais ça monsieur dit de ministre ou bien de directeur c'est exactement ça monsieur d'après dit pour prochain monde qui venir par rapport à moi il d'après dit au contraire mais qui monde mette ba Valérie Nima parce que si le cas dit pour ministre si le cas dit pour directeur général là pour ça pas dit on l'autre monde ni de moi tout me dit non c'est pas pour ça non m'pas faire parce que c'est pas logique moi m'pas faire ça OK maintenant moi je veux dire nous ça existait à travers le monde ouais pays d'Afrique gon bagay yo relé accueil et hébergement si par exemple gagner une délégation qui a sorti Haïti attendez bien ça m'a bien si une délégation qui a sorti en Haïti qui peut aller dans un pays d'Afrique quelconque ou accompagné par soit ambassadeur pays d'Afrique qui en Haïti ou bien c'est un consul honoraire très souvent yo mandé soit ambassadeur soit consul honoraire là pour lui venir avec ce qu'on appelle l'accueil et l'hébergement pour yo. Qui ça accueil et hébergement yé dans tête pa yo? C'est des mesdames que y a planifié avec yo sorti en Haïti, fait participer dans délégation, leur arrivée dans pays d'Afrique ça mesdames ça yo a disponible pour moun qui vle au niveau de hiérarchie pays. Ça veut dire quoi? Ça veut dire que mesdames qui allaient yo, leur présenter yo by et président qui a décidé choisir à qui est-ce la passé quelques nuits. Si président pas choisi ça, moun qui vient après, il y a son premier ministre, il y a son ministre, ainsi de suite. Mais mesdames qui quittent Haïti, yo connaissent c'est pour ça yo aller, pour accueil et hébergement. Moi-même, allé dans des pays d'Afrique, côté que gen des mesdames qui quittent Haïti, depuis leur constitué délégation, yo connaît pour accueil et hébergement. Gen là-dedans c'est madame de moun en Haïti, gen là-dedans c'est madame de simples individus, mais gen là-dedans c'est madame de moun important en Haïti. On y a probablement pour demander mais qui ça fait accepter quand même. Yo accepté parce que de pouvoir aller où c'est accueil et hébergement, leur a tourné ou sortir comme un gros l'argent. Pour quelle que soit raison, ou sortir avec un magot l'argent. Président, ministre, ou bien directeur général, ça, qui t'est passé nuit avant, qui t'est fait 2 nuits avant là, li ba une quantité l'argent. Ok? Gen des moun qui t'est là, que hébergement, qui c'est madame ou c'est de moun important en Haïti, mais, m'pap j'aime qu'à citer non yo, qui intérêt m'gain pour me citer non, pour qui ça me citer non tout. Et puis c'est très dangereux tout. Madame n'a yo pas véritablement connaît pour qui ça yo aller dans délégation. Mais moi-même, moi connais pour qui ça yo aller et me connais qui ça yo retourner comme l'argent. Pour moi demander tout mais sur quel critère yo choisi mesdames ça yo. Le ces pays d'Afrique yo, le un président ou bien une autorité dans pays ça yo solliciter accueil et hébergement, il y a 2 critères tout au moins pour moun ça yo rempli. 1, faut qu'il est bien pourvu, c'est-à-dire moun qui cherche sur yo, africain mais femme bunda, femme qui wan, comme ça. Et deuxièmement, faut le bon petit couleur. Africain ti remet leur clé. OK? Sous rempli 2 conditions ça yo, m'pa bon menti, premier gros chef là, yo connaît c'est pour lui, y a quitté ou. OK? Ça c'est nous devons nous comprendre logique accueil et hébergement ça qui fait non paquet de pays d'Afrique que me pas besoin citer et me dit nous moins participer dans des délégations côté gen des monde comme ça qui aller et c'est pour ça yo aller. D'accord. Maintenant l'on n'importe l'autre pays l'on arrive dans phase récréation côté gen pile relâchement. Moi dis nous menon dans club, moi dis nous ça dépend, il y a des nèg qui dit ou, il y a des ambassadeurs qui dit ah monsieur pas un problème non là et qui ça nous voulait et nous avons chercher et moun et puis nous même n'a choisi. Oui, il y a plusieurs pays qui fait ça. Il y a plusieurs, c'est pas seulement ambassadeurs haïtiens. C'est différents ambassades côté que gon quantité de monde yo tout gen ça yo comme monde pour bailler plaisir et tout le reste même gens gen des ambassades ou aller et puis yo planifier est-ce que gon massage complet que yo baille côté yo fait tous les bagailles etc. est-ce que ça t'a intéressé ou ouais et ainsi de suite. Moi connais parce que yo proposé mieux c'est moi qui pas rentrer là-dedans parce que il pas fait partie de et bagaille que moi-même moi fait. Mais yo existé et c'est pas une question de ambassadeur haïtien, c'est une question de majorité délégation pour pas dire toute délégation qui allait, yo toujours quitté espace de récréation ça qui gagne toute qualité bagaille, gagne qui gagne plus de vergondage là-dedans, gagne qui gagne moins. Mais si on moun par exemple c'est augmenté on a dit par exemple Smith Augustin comme jeune garçon et puis gon équipe qui vient comme journaliste et puis on dit ambassadeur ah mon cher nous vinn là beaucoup nous va nous venger là reçu mais à moins que ambassadeur lui-même bah ça va pas impliqué là-dedans du tout ça pas intéressé du tout mais il connaît ces bagages qui existaient en République dominicaine. Écoute, il y a des nègres qui ont téléphone, qui ont juste relé et puis les juges disent ah mais OK pas un problème. M'bon garanti, un journaliste qui doit dire Smith Augustin ça pendant l'ambassadeur. Et puis moun qui dans environnement ambassade là connaît ah mais OK pas un problème. Et puis à ce moment-là, c'est gado yo relé des mesdames ou bien al chercher yo. Et puis on sait de mesdames soit pas là avec eux, autour de ça du li dans université et côté là pas prendre médecine, ça lui même font maîtrise en droit, c'est pas pour dire c'est des épaves comme si on juste croiser dans la rue à forcément. OK? Ou des moun yo présenter, moun ça dit oui, il a telle licence dans tel bagage, actuellement on a fait master etc. Mais c'est fils ça yo men ba ou et pour aller passer nuit là ou pour faire 2 nuits là. OK? Maintenant moi dis son bagage qui répété et répété et répété. Moi songe m'aller à Paris et puis moi était avec un ambassadeur et puis pendant nous chita n'a mangé dans un restaurant et puis ambassadeur a dit et puis m'a regardé et on a passé parce que m'était préféré chita sous terrasse là et sous dehors sous forme de bistrot bah, comme ça. Et puis, l'ambassadeur a dit, Valérie, pas oublier le principe là, non, papa. Lorsque vous rencontrez une super belle femme à Paris, méfiez-vous. Il se pourrait que ce soit un Brésilien. OK? Lorsque vous voyez une super belle femme à Paris, méfiez-vous. Il se pourrait que ce soit un Brésilien. Son pays gagne pile travesti. OK? Et grand pile nèg qui prend dans ça. OK? En pile nèg prend là-dedans. Maintenant et comme l'article là m'pa yo préciser ça, est-ce que c'est Smith parce que m'pa croire que c'est Smith qui proposait journaliste sur li pral chercher jamais dodo pour yo? Probablement dans délégation parce que dans toute délégation aller gen toute catégorie de monde. Qui doit connaître qui dit ah chef là moi femme moi je la quand même là-bas comme ça puisqu'on a une ambiance détendue et puis m'pas étonné que monsieur dit ah bon pas penser ça t'intéresse non et non mon cher mais non nous gagne là qui a planifié ça pour nous et puis voilà que dans délégation t'es un monde qui est assez pudique qui tendait ça et en plus de ça qui ouais que bagaille là réalisé. OK? Et puis il vient faire objet d'un article. Il vient faire objet d'un article. Mais, Wal Cuba, il fait, Wal États-Unis, ou je ne sais, Wal en Europe, ou je ne sais, Wal en Afrique, ou je ne sais, à plus forte raison, en République dominicaine. Maintenant, il y a des informations, sous pas gagner, ou on doit faire des interprétations qui étaient chargées. Nous songeons le et Mal Cuba. Et puis, le moins rentré, moins ouais gagné, un article que gagné, on écrit, un blogueur. Il tellement prend Haïti pour un pays qui sale parce que yo kon c'est haïtien qui dans avion fon ta ouais depuis nous atterri Cuba La Havane yo désinfecté avion. OK? Mais moun qui écrit ça à diable c'est parce que le pas connaît son principe lié automatiquement fait premier vol là notamment Cuba c'est comme ça yo accueilli avec de l'eau. Son accueil, son forme d'accueil lié yo accueilli avec de l'eau. Mais c'est pas désinfecté avion. Mais moun qui dit ça, le par contre, c'est qu'on est le par contre, pas diable. Mais pour lui là, il pense qu'ils font grosse coupe. Mais pas diable, c'est ignorance qu'a parlé. OK? Mais il aurait fallu que il t'ait juste demandé au monde au ça passé à pas nettoyer avion pendant l'avion juste atterri. C'est les sortes dit non, c'est comme ça il va accueillir, il fait premier vol ou bah comme ça. Il tape juste pas répéter ça, il pas taper écrit ça l'écrit comme bêtise, il pas tape faire ça. OK? Donc ça c'est bail pour connaître. Mais comme en général nous parler dans toute bagaille même si nous pas connaît, eh ben nous devons faire gros dégâts tout parce que ignorance ka cause ou fait gros dégâts. OK? Mais maintenant, écoute, ça me veut dire nous, c'est que ça qui est écrit sous Smith Augustin, hein, par rapport au fait qu'il dit que il te mettait et pan à la disposition journaliste pour que elle passe une nuit là. Moi dis nous si c'est pour ça n'a pas obligé écrire pour plus fort monde qui est ambassadeur. Pas seulement ambassadeur haïtien. N'a pas obligé écrire pour plus fort monde qui est dans diplomatie. Parce que en pile monde connaît que c'est une nan bagay, leur arrive dans partie récréation, ça dépend de vice moun. Ça dépend de vice moun. Pas bon exemple. Il y a un pile ambassadeur américain que vous voyez ben nous, c'est des homosexuels. OK? Mais son secret de polichinelle, un pile moun connaît ambassadeur ça c'est des homosexuels connus. Ou après par exemple, conseil de programme qui était qu'on fait Port-au-Prince chaque jeudi. Suivez mon regard. Mais il y a des ambassadeurs qui pas rater jeudi ça pendant jour jamais. Mais yo aller avec ménage yo et tout le monde connaît ça c'est ambiance yo et yo kon partager des ménages garçons. Mais ça c'est connu par exemple. Ça c'est connu. Gon le m'a parlé avec un diplomate qui explique que un ambassadeur américain il manque exploser machine nuit les organes parce que machine n'a gon GPS sous lit et puis yo ouais machine les organes. Or ambassadeur c'est nan bagay et madodal que là les organes parce que t'es gon bagay côté que gon série de monde c'est là fait toute qualité exhibition donc monde qui dans pays a connaît ambassadeur intéressé à des bagay comme ça surtout s'il demande ticket bagay comme ça pour lui yo kon vis li et puis yo chercher ça pour lui et puis yo joindre les organes yo mène monsieur eh ben et ouais que chauffeur a fait chauffeur a descendre machine donc automatiquement ils suivent que pas une personne qui est dans machine donc quelque part ils estiment que gon bagay qui rivé et puis a exploser machine c'est le yo couri dit non fait chauffeur tourner à monter dans machine et puis qu'on a pour assurer que non c'est pas kidnapper personne avec machine etc. Wali donc ça yo existé tout partout donc vraiment pas ta souhaiter que comme si m'dadjo on utilise ça comme si c'est pour la première fois ça fait comme si m'dadjo c'est plus gros péché qui existé que camarade là et li fait songez encore une fois moi dit nous gagner et des réalités comme ça à travers le monde. Il y a des gens, par exemple, qui viennent, qui sortent dans l'autre pays. Mais ils viennent, depuis avant, ils viennent. Ils disent, mon chef, il faut préparer tel bagage pour moi, il faut quitter tel bagage pour moi, etc. Mais ça, il n'a pas fait partie d'un bagage formel ni officiel. C'est ça, me comprendre. C'est des pratiques qui existaient à travers le monde, notamment au niveau de la diplomatie, notamment au niveau des ambassades, et que dans derniers jours, ou bien 2 derniers jours, que vous mettez comme récréation, moun yo toujours fait tête au plaisir, et vous demandez toute qualité bagaille. Et d'autant que un pays tel que République Dominicaine, qui c'est bastion bagaille ça, même dans Cuba, il y a un touriste sexuel, il y a un escort girl, escort boy, etc. Donc, il n'a pas estimé son bagage grave que lié. Ou est-ce ça qui choque nous, par exemple, puisque c'est culturel. Mais, li pas choqué une quantité de monde par exemple qui dans série de pays qui connaît que ça c'est des bagailles, c'est presque des bagailles courants, c'est comme si li pas pour nouvelle pour yo. Li pas pour nouvelle pour yo. Maintenant, si ambassade là lui-même li formalise question de pour venir toujours cocher ça, soit vous voulez homosexuel, vous voulez bisexuel, vous voulez non, là sont l'autre débat. Mais un bagage qui fait en marge de des rencontres officielles et que il y a des moun très certainement c'est eux même qui sollicitent ça parce que m'pas quoi ambassadeur après elle dit monsieur attendez m'gen femme pour nous là pour qui voulez moi mal faut j'aime dire nous mal dans délégation yo mal on paquet de délégation mal en Europe mal en Amérique mal en Afrique mal en Asie mal dans tout moi ouais qui gens bon nous ont expliqué nous bagaille te gagné pendant dans le Sénégal pas de bon confrère qui rivé et puis monsieur lui-même lui pour une femme le rivé et il fait femme dormir avec elle. Il fait femme dormir avec elle. Le lendemain matin, bon taxi, monsieur a mené femme dans un taxi ya. Et puis monsieur baille femme dans un change. OK? Comme type. Et puis même monsieur te dit nous que c'est ménage li. Qui est le ménage ya? Hier oui, hier monsieur croisé dans club. Monsieur prend femme dans une dormi avec elle et puis demain matin il dit ah mon chata va le déposer va le faire un taxi vient prendre ménage moi là pas quelqu'un qui besoin servir monsieur là pour offrir nous ménage li. OK et puis tout on m'a pris et puis le taxi a venu monsieur conduit fia dans taxi a et puis les beau fia li bail fia en tête on a fia dit OK et maintenant mon enveloppe. Monsieur dit c'est quoi? Il dit mon enveloppe, ma paye. Monsieur dit comment ça? Il dit ma paye. On a passé la nuit et puis il dit mais combien de nuit hein? Pour fial quand monsieur sont habitués, il connaît combien de nuit yoé. Monsieur dit ah, comment pour le payer? C'est pas ménage moi. On fut rencontré hier soir un club qui vient travailler et puis on a venu c'est ménage. Monsieur vient expliquer nous ça. Nous dit patron moi-même pendant que ça vient expliquer ça me tombé appris parce que me trouvais que monsieur bon écoute comme bagaille ça scène ça t'a déroulé dans lobby hôtel là et puis gon monsieur qui dans lobby là qui vient côté nous qui dit qui est-ce monde qui était dormi avec Fia parce que Fia lui même getan dit dans lobby là gon monsieur qui prend qui vient dormir avec elle et puis il pas veut payer tout le monde ça gon carte yo gon badge bleu et puis Fia montré badge li c'est le ça zami qui dans lobby a dit non moun ça c'est des moun que vraiment yo protégé yo gon numéro téléphone même genre 911 aux États-Unis yo gon téléphone depuis yo relèl depuis yo juste sonner téléphone nan yap nèg vinn prend moun qui pa vle payer yo la débradé nèg lobby a expliqué zami que te fait ça monsieur dit qui ça et mais c'est alors que monsieur pas un cob pour le payer quoi que à l'époque et c'était 200 € pour monsieur te payer si mémoire bon à l'époque 100 € c'était 46 000 francs CFA. OK zami pas un cob ça sous lui son l'autre confrère qui te gagne un cob sous lui te bail pour le bail le passer aux États-Unis c'est monsieur prêté confrère ça à cob là sinon t'a marié monsieur deux bradets et là ça me songe pour diable qu'on peut filoter là et puis qu'on peut filoter dit mais attendez non patron mais si vous servez avec fia même pense que faut que tu as déjà prévoir cobou pour qu'on ait monsieur dit non c'est remet à fia mais qu'on peut filoter mais mon cher ou quoi on fille hier soir non club c'est pas la caille où t'es croisé ni non l'école ni non faculté avant nous te monter descendre dans la faculté est-ce qu'il l'ont te croisé non ou croisé non club et puis fia al dormir avec vous qu'on y a li pas fait prier avant parce que le connaît qu'on sont habitués donc qu'on y a mon frère pour casser, c'est eux-mêmes qui vous payent. Mais ces amis qui t'ont aidé, monsieur, sont l'autre confrère qui t'a aidé, monsieur. Et puis, prêter l'argent pour, sinon, ils t'ont débarqué, marié, monsieur, deux bras derrière, parce que, moun sa yo très protégé. OK? Mais, sourivé, dans n'importe qui ambassade, mon ambassade là connaît que ça fait partie de service que ka bon monde qui sollicite oui. C'est-à-dire que menon fiba yo, mené yo dans club, mené yo dans bagay et proxénétisme etc. Mais majorité ambassade yo moun yo connaît que ça son service carrément et yo ka mandé encore que bon bref du bagay qui grave là. Ça arrive c'est dans ambassade là même ou aller visiter comme haïtien par exemple, ou arriver dans l'ambassade et puis l'arriver yo met dans club comme moi dit dans récréation toujours on bail comme ça yo met dans club ça qui arrive c'est des mesdames dans l'ambassade yo même ou sortir avec eux et puis tous les bagages fait c'est-à-dire que nous pas même besoin aller comme si pour montrer nous ou al dehors yo voulez chercher vidéo non ça arrive même que des nèg qui arrivent dans l'ambassade là et puis yo sorti avec des mesdames qui a travaillé dans l'ambassade là et puis yo tout dormi avec fils qui s'emploie à l'ambassade là ça arrive plusieurs côtés bon si équipe a ibo pour ça t'es allé dans des bagages que moi même mal visité pour des bagages me constater et t'as un gros article oui ils ont mis ça t'as écrit pour bagay me connaît vivre, bagay me connaît témoin, ou bagay me connaît ouais. OK? Augustin, t'es même mettez mesdames yo à la disposition de confrères pour que yo enjoy yo et en veux-tu en voilà. OK.
What does it take to be the most watched newscast in America?
We are part of an operation.
Is this our combat operations center?
We're approaching the gate. Militants came in from different directions. Nuclear reactor. So you have a couple loaded and ready to go. The house is destroyed, but the flag...
Not a tear in it.
How important it made to USA. Great work.
Hi, appreciate you.
Thank you.
Ismail?
David.
David.
I'm David Muir.
I know you are.
You
Watch
do?
you every night.
ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast.
This is a world that is changing very quickly. This was just filled with forests.
There. Partner.
We're not partners. I'm the detective and you are the consultant. I see you brought your baby to a crime scene.
She is just spectating.
You're a single mom with 3 kids pretending to be a cop.
I am not pretending. I spot things.
Chelsea here. Another month and another high utility bill. Those old windows and doors might be the culprit, letting valuable energy escape. At Renewal by Andersen, our energy-efficient windows and doors have the latest advanced technology, keeping your home comfortable all year round. Renewal by Andersen has a limited-time offer. Buy 4 windows and/or patio doors and get the 5th one free. Plus, enjoy 0 money down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for 12 months. Some restrictions apply. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com for all the details. License number CGC 1527613.
Robinhood's Hood Week is coming, so start the countdown now. 12 days, 3 epic offers, and unlimited bonus amounts. Starting October 16th, when you transfer your IRAs, margin balances, or other brokerage accounts to Robinhood, there's no limit to how much you can earn. Head to Robinhood.com/HoodWeek now to learn more about Hood Week. Investing is risky. Bonus offer subject to terms and conditions. Visit Robinhood.com/HoodWeek for more information. Margin is not suitable for all investors. Robinhood Gold is offered through Robinhood Gold LLC and is a subscription offering services for a fee. Brokerage services offered through Robinhood Financial LLC. Member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.
Jack FM is now streaming commercial-free on TuneIn Premium.